Hi guys, welcome back again. We're going to be turning this guy into a painted model using only these 3 colours and 2 brushes. Now there's a few rules with this challenge. Number 1 is you're allowed 3 colours, just 3 colours. I had a 2 brush limitation and I've gone with these 2 very, actually they're okay brushes from Amazon, probably about £5 to £10 for like a big pack. So I've gone with 2 of these. Other than that, I left it to everyone if they wanted to base by hand or by spray. I encourage by hand because you might not have the disposable income for, you know, a £9 or I don't know what it is in the States, like $15 spray can. So I did it by hand with Abaddon Black, which brings me to the next rule of the challenge. Although you're only allowed 3 colours, I was saying black does not count as a colour for this challenge. Here we have the little guy in all his glory. Great looking model, very horny chap if I say so myself. Stuck him on a bit of cork just to make it look a bit better and stick out. So here we have Flayed One Flesh as my first colour. Is that Gene Stiller? Oh no, Xeris Purple. I can't really tell. I keep airbrushing near my paints before I had these plastic trays. So, and Strachan Green, which is a paint I've not actually had any use out of since I've brought it, so now's the time. So I've got a standard size 1 brush here. This is what I'll be doing most of my painting with, fresh out the Amazon package. And a more tatty brush, Abaddon Black, or whatever contentious name you decide. I don't really care, it's black at the end of the day. Nerds. We thinned it down a bit, and yeah, we're just base coating by hand. Now this is really what I wanted to do with this challenge. I really wanted to show people that you don't need loads of colours and loads of supplies to do painting. It's, at the end of the day, a hobby which isn't the cheapest to get into, and some of you may not have a lot of disposable income, or some of you might be, you know, you might just still be growing up. You might not even have the ability to earn money yourself yet, and what money you do get might be very limited. So I wanted to show you that you don't need tons and tons of stuff, because watching a lot of the fantastic painters on YouTube, including a lot of the fantastic people I'm doing this collab with, it's quite easy to forget. You know, no one has to start at the top, and I'm sure, like yourself and many others who might be watching this, that getting into this hobby, we didn't all start off with loads of stuff either. You know, we had to build it up over a long time and years, and probably took breaks from the hobby and got back into it. I've taken several hobby breaks, and a nice little story actually. When I was too young to even remember my age, but I was tiny, my granddad used to take me out on parcel delivery runs. You know, the incentive was to get up, you know, 6 in the morning with him, go out, do these parcel delivery runs, and at the end he'd say, pay me my wages. He always said to me, as he did encourage more creative hobbies, you know, so he would say to me, you can either take wages or we can go down the model shop. And he said, your wages will be less than what you get if we go down the model shop. And we went down there, and after sort of looking at a few sets, he got me this Lord of the Rings set where you got some high elves and some goblins and a few men of Gondor. And having loved those films, and him being a lover of Lord of the Rings himself, I thought it was a really sort of nice thing to get me into. And here's the finished result. See, other than maybe the base, you can't really tell too much. You got a nice, I think, matte black finish? Oh, I'm not really too sure. Anyway, we've loaded the palette up with a bit of this Xeris Purple. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's purple. It's a nice dark purple. Whatever. Use that. It's good. Now, I'm going to use this purple to form the very base colour of the miniature. As you see, I've got quite a bit of paint on the brush loaded up, but I'm going to take my time. So I thin this out a bit, and the black's going to show through. And this is the thing to do, guys. Really take your time. Don't just slop loads on thinking, oh, I need to cover it, because that's a mistake that we all made. Well, I definitely made growing up as a kid. Didn't have anyone to show me the way. Painting miniatures isn't about getting it done quickly. It's about having fun doing it. Taking your time so you have a result that you can be proud of and happy with. Now we're coming in with the Flayed One Flesh now. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sort of take some of the colour out, desaturate it as you want. So I'm using the black, mixing it with my first colour, Flayed One Flesh. And what this will allow me to do is start from a darker colour, because it turns to almost grey, which I didn't know was going to happen, because I've never mixed black with Flayed One Flesh, which was a fun part of this challenge. It did what I expected, but it went to a greyish colour, which I wasn't expecting. I'm going to keep that in mind for later when it comes back to the base. Now I thought whilst this purple was drying, and as you can see it's a bit shiny, I was just going to go in and do the bone, the claws and the teeth. And this will act as a nice base layer. It looks a bit messy at this stage, but later highlights really bring out these details. I take a bit more care on the base of the horn, because what I want to do is leave a bit of the black at the base of the horn. And I'm painting sort of upwards to the tip, because that's where it's going to be lightest. And by leaving some black streaks, it gives a nice natural effect, as you might start to see coming in. And as we build up layers and do the same thing, oh, that's lovely there. As we build up layers and do the same thing, it gives a really nice quick result with only spending a little bit more effort on these features. And as the horns, you know, central piece, kind of drawn to it as the highest point of the model, I thought maybe spend a bit longer on it. Now going in with the Strachan green, we're going to be doing the similar thing. We're going to be desaturating that colour and bringing it down in tone. What I'm going to do is do some base layers for it. So I'm going to do the gums in this green and the mushrooms as well. The story I wanted to tell with this piece is we have this cave squig. He's quite happy bouncing around, being vicious, tearing sheep apart or whatever creatures it can find in the Warhammer world. So I wanted to sort of have this piece where we end up with these green mushrooms and these other green parts on the model, such as his gums and later on the base of his horn. And I thought what this would really do is start showing as maybe the effects of the mushrooms started to take effect on him. Maybe making him angrier, more vicious, more volatile, whilst also giving me an excuse to work with my limited colours that I have. Now the base layer on the purple's dried, I went back off camera and sort of built up another layer, just taking my time with it. So now what I'm going to do is add a bit of flayed one flesh to the mix in order to produce a highlight. Now, what I found interesting with flayed one flesh and using it to mix in a colour to get you a highlight is that it gives you a highlight that's a bit more yellowy in tone. So this can be useful, I think, for trying to make perhaps more natural effects. Not that I can really talk about natural when I'm painting purple skin. I'm not really thinking too much about the light. At the point I was thinking maybe there'll be light source from above, although I changed my mind definitely with this later on, as I decide that it's going to be lit from below by the glowing mushrooms. So already you can do advanced techniques and you've only got one colour. Like this will work with pretty much any colour other than metallic paints. The final step of this was I added a bit more flayed one to the mix, and I started going through and sort of texturing the model right away. But I wanted to give him lots of dots because skin is rarely just a flat colour with, you know, a little highlight here and there. And I pictured this guy as being almost reptile-like or toad-like in a way, so I wanted him to have quite bobbly, dotty skin. I used a similar technique by following the lines I'd already highlighted, but instead I stippled it on, you know, just dotted it. Now, this looks like it'd be quite hard work, but I wanted to show this off because I'm showing you here with a size 1 brush off of Amazon, which costs less than £5 in a pack of 12, that you can do it. You don't need a £50–60 brush from Winsor & Newton or from Arctic Opus. Like, they certainly help, don't get me wrong. I own some myself, but as you can see, I'm doing very small detail work here with a perfectly normal bottom of the range brush. At this step, I've decided to go back and do the horns and teeth, and now I'm going in with just pure flayed one flesh. If you wanted to do more layers or more highlights here, you could start with a much more heavily desaturated base layer, so it'd be a very dark grey perhaps. I'm leaving some of the previous grey layer behind and painting upwards in these lines in one direction. I later decided at this stage that doing all these dots wasn't enough. So not only did I use pure flayed one to fill in all of the eyes and do the highlights on the horn and teeth, I thought I'd use it to reinforce some of the more extreme highlights I'd already done. So I think this is like my 4th layer of highlights on this model, which for anyone who does army paint, it's like, oh, that's insane. But you know, for a loser like me who sits here and spends a stupid amount of hours on each model, like I'm not even good. Like there's this guy, Flame on Miniatures. He's not in this video, but go check him out. He does insane stuff. Like I've seen him paint the reflection of a model on the surface of water on the base of his model. It was crazy. Like I went in with pure Strachan and I highlighted the gums. And I also added a layer, but I glazed this. This might be later, I can't remember. But I glazed a layer at the bottom of the horn. So I started bringing the colour up by adding a bit more flayed one flesh at each time to really start highlighting these mushrooms to try and create a convincing object source lighting effect. Now, by the end you can make the final decision on whether I was successful or not. I think maybe with white I could have done a bit better, as this gave a more yellowy glow. But I think it's just a practice thing. I'm not particularly good with object source lighting. It's only something I've practiced a few times, mainly on bases, and it's never really carried over to the miniature that's been on it. Thought I just had to do it. Unless I practiced, I was never going to get better at it. I start thinking what areas are going to be really affected by sort of glowing light, and I thin it down with water, the Strachan, to a glaze consistency. And once again, glazing is not a technique I'm particularly familiar with, but I use it because I still want some of the purple tone showing through. I don't want to completely cover it. You know, I start placing it, trying to really figure out like where would these mushrooms produce light, and I was guessing it's going to be on the underneath and perhaps the side of the gob there. But this took a lot of practice, a lot of layers of playing around with, but it was very rewarding in the end. An important thing with glazing is to make sure you give it time to dry, because if you don't give it time to dry, you can go and ruin your previous layer. Now this rock's just made out of cork, and I thought I'd include it in the base because cork is really cheap to get. You can get absolutely loads of it from Amazon, or if you're really desperate, you can nick it off a notice board, whatever, and you can just play around with it to have a bit more life on your miniature's base, because I find just sand and flocking can be a bit boring. Even with this, you don't need to start with the top of the range stuff. Just start doing it for the right reasons. I don't make these videos to make money. In fact, I don't make any money off them at all. I'm doing this for fun, and because I want to share things I've learnt with the community. And that's what really inspired me to create this challenge. That's why I went out of my way to contact Brent from GooberTown and Andy from SinNerds, and along with Gecko Paints, who I was in a Squig video with previously. And I was just like, guys, let's do a collab, because I realised with having a small channel, although I got a nice little jump start from being featured on Squidmar's channel, I didn't just want to share my videos with 5 or 6 viewers for the hours of work that goes into the whole process. But I was absolutely baffled when Brent and Andy both got back to me being like, we want to do the challenge. And before I knew it, loads of the people they associate with and spend time chilling out with in Discord were up for the challenge too. And all of a sudden, I went from feeling like I was on my own in this YouTube thing, starting out, to feel like I was part of the community that I've been viewing for so many years on YouTube. That you guys watching, that even if it's only a couple of you, if you felt put off by starting miniature painting, or put off by trying to get good at it, or taking your time with it because you don't have the resources, you can see now you don't need them. Sure, I've probably got about 6 different types of purple and 8 different shades of red, but that just makes it easier for me. And sometimes I think, hey, this is a cool colour, this is what I want to do. And at this point, I was really beginning to like the glow effect I'd created. It's not the best, and I still think I could have done better, but around here, I was happy to call the model done. And here he is, the finished guy. I'm really happy with him, and I've already put him in my display cabinet. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video as well, and you're one of the small percentage that has, I really appreciate you taking your time out to watch this video and sharing the project that I helped create. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment if you want to see anything else. But most importantly, thank you for watching and welcome to the channel.